Hi there everyone, and welcome to another Royal Voluntary Service event today. My name is Vanessa Wright, and I'm delighted to be hosting a festive nature journaling session today with you all. Now, I'd love to hear where you're joining me from and what sort of wintry weather you are having where you are today. I see up north there's a fair bit of snow, although down south here it's a little bit murky and grey. So I'm just wondering if you'd like to pop in the chat, in the comments. It would be lovely to hear what sort of weather you're experiencing where you are. So thank you for coming along today. So just to give you a flavour of what we will be doing, in today's bite-sized lunchtime slot, we will use prompts from the natural world, which informs so many of our traditions and inspires so many memories which are associated with this time of year. So what we will do is we will have a lucky dip advent calendar. I will draw out a number to reveal which box to open. There might be a plant, a herb, a spice, or another kind of surprise. And what I would love for you to do is to pop in the chat when I give you the prompt any traditions or memories which come to mind for you when you think of this particular item. And whilst you're entering your comments in the chat, what I will do is I'll share a little bit of information about the background of why we come to associate this item with this time of year. So I'm really looking forward to just this short session today. It was billed for 20 minutes, but I have been informed if you would like it to run a little bit longer, we can run it to past if you're liking the session and you want to keep going, etc. So please do join me and tell me who you are and where you're dialing in from today. Oh, so it's a very, very wet time in Sussex, Tricia. Thank you for joining. And damp and cold in West of Scotland. Yes, I spend a lot of time up in the Hebrides and it can be quite wild up there, can't it, at this time of year? Hope you've not been having too much in the wet and windy weather. Very wet in Leicestershire. Yes, we've kind of lost some of that lovely, frosty, cold, sunshiny weather we had just before the weekend. That's my favourite kind of walking weather, to be honest. I love it when it's that frosty, crisp and cold. Feels really wintry and I don't mind that so much, but mild and damp and wet is less pleasurable as far as I'm concerned. So Maria, yes. Oh, it's full and cold and very wet in Herefordshire, Julie. Welcome. Oh, lovely and frosty in Argyll. Oh, yes, I love that, Irene. I can just imagine and picture the ice crystals on the trees. Beautiful. Oh, and in the Vale of the White Horse in Oxfordshire. Oh, it's lovely in the Chalklands, isn't it? Love the Chilterns. So it's not too far from there, I don't think, with all that beautiful chalkland. And hopefully you get lots of butterflies there in the summer, Helen. So thank you for joining. I'm going to feel a little bit like I'm doing the National Lottery, but I've got a bowl of numbers that I'm going to draw. So the first one out today, I'm wondering if this is a lucky number for any of you, is the number 4. So I am going to my advent calendar of surprises and I will open drawer number 4. So in drawer number 4, I will show you what I've got in here. So we have a starfish. I don't know if you can see that. That might be easier to see against my dark top. So we have a tiny starfish, and you might be thinking, well, that's a bit strange, Vanessa. Why have you got starfish associated with Christmas? Well, you've got to kind of give me some poetic license. Really, the starfish represents the star. So I'd love you just to think for a moment what stars mean for you in the winter. Does it inspire any memories you have, any traditions you might have? Or even the actual object. Maybe you go for a winter walk on the beach and starfishes wash up where you are. So maybe it is something that is quite literal for you at this time of year, because with the storms and windy weather, we can often see surprises that we might not otherwise get at other times of year. because they bring up all sorts of tidal treasures onto the shore. So yeah, I'd love to hear in the comments what inspires, what comes to mind when you think of stars at this time of year. So obviously, a little bit of background of why I've picked this one. So the Star of Bethlehem was thought to be especially bright due to the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, and some even think it might have included a third planet, Mars. And what have you got on here that make you think of stars at this time of year? Yes, so stars make you think of frost. That's a beautiful thought, Sandy. I often think that ice crystals are like stars, and they sort of glitter and shine, don't they? Walks on the beach as well, Isabel. And you were looking at starfish this morning. That's fantastic. Cold winter starry nights. My favourite. I love that sort of crisp evening. And you can get that quite early in the evening. Now it's dark. You know, we often kind of get a bit depressed sometimes when it's dark early. But it can mean that you have more hours for stargazing on a clear night. And certainly up in the Hebrides, I've been lucky a few times in winter to get a show of the Northern Lights. So yes, looking at the stars can be really lovely at this time of year. And a star makes you think of the Star of David, Maria. I wonder if that has any traditions for you, maybe when you were younger, or maybe traditions now. Clear skies and a fresh perspective for the new year. That's beautiful, Julie. Thank you. So yes, I was kind of thinking that would be a lovely prompt. And again, it's great for you to start putting your ideas in the chat that you can go away and develop later. We've got this Monday session, but take any of these prompts and write a little 50-word something about a tradition or a memory, or even just something like you said, finding a starfish on a beach, perhaps, very literally what you might think. So that's the first one, the starfish or the star. So next out, let's have a little rummage and see what number we're going to pick next. So the next number is number 2. So I've got all the low numbers so far. So number 2, what have we got here? We have got, I shall just pick it out here. I have some, I don't know if you can see this. Let me try and get my camera positioned. You can see this here. Is some leaves of the ivy. So what does ivy mean to you? I'm just going to... Oh, that's lovely, Kat, that your son is obsessed with space and stars. Oh, you've got a star named for him. Oh, that's so beautiful. What a lovely idea. And then he can look up and see his own star. Oh, that's such a lovely thought. So ivy, what does ivy mean to you? What do you think of when you think of ivy? Oh, your granddaughter's called Ivy, Sandy. Oh, that's so nice. What a beautiful name. Berries for the birds. Yes, that's one thing, isn't it, about ivy and how important it is for wildlife in the winter. Yeah, it's the berries for the birds, and it can give them a real lovely piece of shelter when the weather's really wild or particularly cold. It can, plants like that really smother and cover can trap heat. So they can be slightly warmer, and also it helps with hibernating invertebrates, for example. Oh, that's lovely. It makes you think of your mother-in-law, Maria. That's beautiful. And again, this can be a really lovely way of, writing a little memory of that person, like whether that's your granddaughter or your mother-in-law. It can be a really lovely way to just spend some time thinking of that person, what they mean to you, and that can be a lovely prompt. So yes, ivy is a beautiful name. So I'll just read out the little festive association with ivy. So hanging ivy is said to bring faithfulness and health. This plant lives on after its host plant dies, which is a symbol of life going on. And of course, this famous plant is celebrated in the Christmas carol, the Holly and the Ivy. And Ivy and the Holly and the Ivy carol reminds me of my sister. And we used to sing songs when we were younger, when we were singing Christmas carols, and we used to sing it in a round. So that reminds me of my sister. So again, it's lovely to think about associations that you might have, and nature can be a lovely way of inspiring memories and traditions. And a lot of nature writing these days is nature memoir, and it is using plants and natural animals and things like that to tell our stories. So yes, that's beautiful. Oh yes, ivy flowers do smell beautiful, don't they? Really sweet, Helen. And the moths love it. I don't know if you ever notice at nighttime in the summer, they're a real favourite for moths, as well as butterflies and bees in the daytime. And even in the autumn, there's some big oak trees up where I live, and there were some fantastic hornets. And you might think, oh, hornets, but they're actually much more less agitated than what wasps are, and they're fascinating to watch. I mean, obviously I don't recommend standing in their flight path, but they're so big and orange. They really glow in the sunlight. Oh, it's lovely to hear, Kat, how birds in your garden love the ivy, and it's grown up over an old washing pole. So that, yes, plants really can take over and, create, in the spaces that we leave behind, nature can return. And yeah, it's great. It's a great plant, isn't it, for bird nests in the summer. And as you say, as we said, Kat, hiding from the weather in the winter. It's lovely that your ivy is chattering. You have chattering ivy. So that's fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. So let's see whether we'll have a higher number now for our next prompt. So let's see where we get to. I have mixed these up before, but it's a number 7. So again, all numbers in the single digits so far. I promise you, I did mix them up. So what we've got now, number 7. So we have a spice, and I'm just going to tip it out into my hand. If you can see, does anyone know what this might be? Oh, crikey. I wouldn't be a good Blue Peter presenter, I don't think. So this, number 7 is your lucky number. Oh, fabulous. Yes, it's a lot of people's lucky numbers, isn't it? Again, my sister's born on the 7th. So I think of her sometimes when I think of number 7. And yes, it is nutmeg, Isabel. So you guessed correctly. So I don't know whether that has any associations for you. Does it prompt any cooking memories, perhaps? Any traditions that you have with making something Christmassy at this time of year that includes nutmeg? So it's a shame we don't have smell-o-vision, but it does smell quite nice, quite sweet. Yes, you're all correct. It is nutmeg. So this was believed to be a very prized spice. And in the 14th century, a pound of this spice was equivalent to 7 fat oxen, apparently. So it's thought to be repellent to fleas, and it's supposed to, therefore, have kept away the Black Death. It's often a garnish, as some of you may or may not remember, to the traditional Christmas tipple of the eggnog. So that is our number 7 for today. So yes, cauliflower hay cheese market. That's interesting, Julie. I don't know anything about that, and I wouldn't have thought of putting nutmeg with cauliflower, but perhaps my culinary expertise needs to expand a little bit. Oh, custard tarts. Yes, that's lovely, isn't it? I do love a custard tart. That reminds me of going to Lisbon and having really lovely custard tarts with nutmeg. Christmas cake and bread and butter pudding. Oh, yes. Bread and butter pudding, such an old classic. Those kind of stodgy puddings that often remind us of this time of year. And your mum used to put nutmeg in bread sauce. Well, that's fascinating, isn't it? I don't usually associate nutmeg with savoury things at all. So this is great. You're giving me a lot of food for thought. And homemade rice pudding. Oh, that sounds delicious, Helen. And you use nutmeg a lot with savoury and sweet recipes, including cauliflower. Well, I'm going to have to give this a try. This is something very new to me. So it's really interesting, isn't it? How ingredients can spark memories of food we eat, and therefore food and meals and even drinks can sometimes remind us of people, or remind us of a specific meal, or making a cake, or making a pudding. And sometimes that can be you as a child, or it could be you with children or grandchildren. Little traditions that we keep going after, generation after generation, what we pass down, can be a really beautiful way of celebrating and remembering, and being with different people who we care about a lot. So yeah, I love how food can do that. And there's obviously a lot of plants and spices that we use at this time of year in our cooking. So let's see whether we can pull out a higher number today. I'll give them another swish around, just to see how we're doing. So let's see what we've got now. So we have, it's another low one, number 6. I need to do a better job of mixing these up a bit, but never mind. It's sort of, I suppose it's in keeping with the first week of December. They're all low numbers, so perhaps it's the universe has spoken. So number 6, and this one, when I open this, is powerful. So I don't think you can see. I'm going to tip them out. I'm probably going to smell now for the rest of the day, but it's quite a nice smell. Can anyone see what that is? Again, it's another spice that you might associate with this time of year. I'm just wondering if anyone can see this. They're sort of quite tiny and small. If you can see, sort of cloves. Yes, really, really strong flavour. I love the smell of them, but they can be quite overpowering. But it does make me think of Christmas. So does it make you think of Christmas or this time of year? And if so, I wonder what it makes you think of. Again, whether it's particularly associated with some kind of cooking, or maybe it has less pleasant associations for you. Oh, you used to put them in oranges when you were a child. Yes, don't they make those orange balls that are studded with cloves? Oh, another one who puts cloves in bread sauce, making an orange pomander. Yes, that's what I was thinking about, Isabel, is those oranges that you stud with the cloves, and they can look really beautiful and make probably lovely smelling decorations around your house. Oh, toothache. Yes, I did wonder whether anyone would associate the clove smell with the dentist. So yes, decorated pomander orange balls studded with cloves originated from medieval times, worn on belts or around necks to protect the wearer from illness. It is a known antioxidant. So I think it's really interesting how those pomander balls have kind of stemmed traditionally from medieval times, and they still continue to not necessarily worn around necks or on belts, but they still make decorations at this time of year. And it just goes to show how long how long traditions can be passed down, and how far back in time they can originate from. So it's really amazing. You think about how many generations that would be. So yeah, that makes you think of your mum's glazed ham, Isabel. That's lovely as well. And perhaps you can recall a specific meal that you might want to write about, or just something about cooking it, or a recipe, and it might inspire you to think about cooking that recipe yourself this week. Something that you perhaps didn't bring to mind straight away, or perhaps you might plan to do something like that for Boxing Day, or when we often have a glazed ham at that time of year. So it's lovely to hear the different kind of associations and connotations that you have. Now I'm wondering, do you want to continue a little longer? I've been told that the 12:30 is cancelled. We can go on a little bit, and I think we will. Let me just see. We've done 4 so far, so we can pull out another couple of numbers for today. So I will pull out another one while I'm waiting to see what you think. So Let's see what number we have now. We have a double digit at last. So number 12. Okay, Maria, we keep going. Aha, we have a herb this time. And unfortunately, this has dried up a little bit. So it doesn't look amazing. I picked it from my garden yesterday, but it has dried up and shriveled. It's probably a result of my poor gardening skills that this is a bit shriveled. And I hope you can tell what it is, but it smells beautiful. And we have some little leaves that have fallen off, a bit dried up. So yeah, it's not the best specimen in the world, but it is rosemary cat, yes. And again, we're pulling out the herbs and spices. We're kind of on a cooking related theme today, aren't we? So yes, this one is rosemary, a little bit dried up, but never mind. The wet weather, I don't think, and the cold, I don't think has helped it too much. But rosemary, in case you want to know a little bit more about rosemary, and I'd love to hear what rosemary means to you or what you think of when you think about rosemary. It could be the plant rosemary that you might have in your garden, and it might make you think of gardening, and it might make you think of the nature that comes to that plant as it grows in your garden. Or again, it might remind you of food and cooking. And it's amazing, isn't it, how many herbs and spices can really prompt memories of people as well as of food and of places. So Maria, again, it reminds you of a friend of yours, which is a really lovely thought. Yes, they are beautiful flowers, aren't they? They're lovely colour. I love them. And of course, they're a delicious food. So I'll give you a little bit of background about this one. So this one, rosemary, during the Middle Ages, people believed if they smelt this herb on Christmas Eve, they would be happy and healthy through the new year. It is also known as the herb of the sun and symbolises returning light. Yes, Trisha, the scent of it is lovely, isn't it? And Helen, oh, that's really interesting. It makes you think about remembrance and making mini wreaths about the size of an old 2p. Wow, that's tiny. You must have very delicate fingers and a lot of patience, no doubt, to be able to make such small mini wreaths like that. Wow, that's amazing. I'd love to see one if you can recreate one. If you put a photo on the chat on the website at some point, because I'm struggling to imagine how you would do that with those tiny little leaves, or maybe it's the branches that you twist around. I don't know whether I'm going to have any success in trying to replicate that with this dried up little piece that's sort of shriveled up overnight, but never mind. So yes, it's lovely to hear from you about what these herbs and spices are prompting in terms of the memories you have. So let's pull out one more for today. Let's see what we're going to have today. So I'm going to mix them up again. See which one we're going to pull out. So another low single digit. So maybe it's encouraging us to keep the low numbers because it's the first week of December. But anyway, I don't know why it's not so randomized. I thought it would be far more. So we've got number 8. And here we have number 8. Aha! So the perfect parent. Thank you, Sandy, for joining. It's lovely to see you here, and thanks for your contributions. So this one, I don't know if you can see, again, slightly shriveled up. I think the cold has kind of got to some of these plants when I went out collecting this weekend. But this one, obviously, very prickly, and the perfect partner to the ivy. We have holly. So I'm wondering what you think of when you think about holly. So this is featured, of course, in many carols, including Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly. and the holly and the ivy, of course. And hanging holly is said to bring eternal life and protection. And the holly king dominates the wood after the summer solstice through to the winter. And the holly king rules at this time of year. It's also said that with holly and ivy, the holly is supposed to represent the male and the ivy is supposed to represent the female. And depending on which plant you bring into the house first will determine who rules the roost for the coming year. So obviously, I would probably advise that with the holly and the ivy song, you might want to bring both in at the same time and have a nice equality in the home. But that's what they say about the holly and the ivy. So yes, Isabel, thinking about wreaths and berries and tricky pruning. Yes, I must say, when I was trying to snap a piece of holly off yesterday, it was a little bit tricky. And you have holly in the garden too, and the birds love it. But the birds have got to it first this year to make wreaths. Yes. And Tricia, you think about birds. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining me in this session and for your participation and contributions. I hope you've enjoyed it, and there have been some useful prompts that have reminded you of some of your own traditions and have recalled some of your fond memories. And I hope that you have some initial sparks here that you can feel free to expand on during the course of this week. And I hope you've enjoyed what I hope has been a fun and festive session and gets you feeling a little bit in more of the Christmas mood. And just to remind you, I will be back again this time next week, and I hope to see you then. But in the meantime, happy journaling and have a lovely week. Thank you very much for joining me, and bye for now. Take care. Have good weeks. Thanks, everyone.